Hey everyone, and welcome to Mini Scroll, the daily internet culture podcast bringing you the biggest stories from social media, the creator economy, and the digital space every Monday through Thursday. My name is Annabelle, and I am your Wednesday Mini Scroll host, and also the deputy editor of the youth digital media brand Centennial World. If you listened to yesterday's Mini Scroll, if you haven't already, you definitely should. But you would have heard that we had some major technical difficulties. So I am hoping that is all behind us. And if it's not, I am very sorry in advance. But I don't really have much to say at the top of this week's episode. So if you enjoy this episode, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe to Infinite Scroll. We are on the journey to getting 1K Spotify star reviews. So feel free to contribute. It would be much appreciated. So the first story for today actually broke a while ago before Mini Tech Scroll even launched. But last week I saw an interesting opinion piece published on The Atlantic, so I thought it would be a good opportunity to bring it up again. If you're interested, the piece is called "Is This How Reddit Ends?" and it was written by Mateo Wang. If you want to give it a read, the link is in the description along with all the other sources that I pull from. And given The Atlantic has a paywall, I have shared the gift link, so you should be able to read it if you click on that link. Anyway, the article was talking all about Reddit's new-ish AI tool called Reddit Answers. For those unfamiliar with Reddit Answers, it was announced on December 9th last year and is essentially an AI-powered search engine that pulls from Reddit data. The Reddit blog described Reddit Answers as, quote, a new AI-powered conversational interface. Once a question is asked, curated summaries of relevant conversations and details across Reddit will appear, including links to related communities and posts. It is initially rolling out to a number of users in the US, and then it will extend to other countries around the world, as well as operate in different languages. Wang, in his piece, is not so much a fan of Reddit Answers. While he does note how pragmatic the function is, he does note that it is very sanitized, where he essentially makes the argument that a tool like this takes away the joys from trolling through a Reddit thread. Quote, the AI responds to questions in bulleted lists along with bold headings followed by summaries of and brief quotes from actual Reddit discussions. But these answers lose the messy, endearing excess of any good Reddit thread. They appear like takeaways instead of teasers, final answers instead of entry points for further discovery. You are unlikely to fall down a rabbit hole of posts from here. Aside from kind of changing up the Reddit experience, he makes another important point in his article. Like other generative AI tools, Reddit AI obviously pulls from existing commentary, so it is not presenting an original perspective by any means. But with this, Wang questions whether more and more users will turn to this feature, leaving less offering their perspectives on Reddit threads, ultimately making the feature less useful. As the article concludes, quote, without human answers, there is no Reddit answers. And so should the feature really take off and Redditors stop engaging with one another, the chatbot will be drained of biological intelligence and soul as well. I did want to add that Reddit is definitely leaning into AI beyond producing its own AI search engine. For instance, last year Reddit and OpenAI struck a deal. The agreement provides OpenAI with real-time access to Reddit's data, facilitating the training of ChatGPT and other models. This arrangement mirrored a previous deal that Reddit made with Google that was apparently worth $60 million, and it ultimately permitted Google to use Reddit posts for training its AI models and improving existing services within Google Search. The deal was a pivotal moment for Reddit because the platform has long struggled to be profitable, even though it is one of the major mainstream social media platforms. If you want more detail about this, though, we did cover the backstory of Reddit last year in a deep dive, so I would definitely check that out. But ultimately, one of the conclusions that we came to in that episode was that the partnerships between Reddit, OpenAI, and Google could help address some of Reddit's financial woes. I'd also like to add that social media users do have valid concerns about Reddit using its forums as AI training data, whether for OpenAI or its own functions. Reddit is obviously home to a vast amount of personal and sensitive information, much of it shared under the assumption of relative privacy. So that is why it is crucial for Reddit to establish transparent policies on how this data is being used and of course implement protections for user consent and data protection. While some argue that Reddit's culture of anonymity helps mitigate these privacy risks, I do think there is a difference, maybe just even on an ethical level, between users reading and engaging with these posts versus companies leveraging that data for innovation and ultimately profit. Sticking with platform updates, the next story I have is some news coming out of Meta, specifically around Threads. Earlier this week, it was announced that Threads would be allowing users to share custom feeds that they make with other users on the platform. Users will also be able to explore public feeds under a new Feeds tab on the platform, as well as pinning feeds to their home screen to access different profiles and topics. Custom feeds is obviously a very powerful tool in that it allows users to organize their interests into specific categories. And this has long been a popular function on different text-first social media sites. For instance, X, even when it was Twitter, had lists. As Sarah Perez reported for TechCrunch, this update is just another way for Meta to compete with Bluesky. Quote, "While Bluesky has largely benefited from an influx of people leaving X for something that looks and feels similar, it's managed to retain its early adopters thanks to a variety of tools that allow people to make the network their own, including custom feeds." So it's unsurprising that Meta would kind of capitalize on this platform and this move towards personalization beyond the algorithm. But I would also say that it's unsurprising that Meta is rolling out such a feature now. Over the past few weeks, there has been more and more conversation around the ethics of using a platform associated with Meta, specifically since the platform announced its content moderation overhaul, which included ending its fact-checking program and also increasingly puts marginalized groups at risk. Obviously, I did cover this in my first mini tech scroll episode, so feel free to check that out if you want more details on that. Now, I couldn't find any specific statistics or numbers around how many users have actually left the platform since this announcement, but there has definitely been more discourse around deleting the apps. Pulling from Google Trends, NBC reported that, quote, "Google searches for deleting Facebook and Instagram have sharply increased," and I'll include a graph on the screen if you want to have a look yourself. Ultimately, while this personalization attempt may be part of a broader plan to ensure that people stay on Meta platforms, I'm not so sure how successful it will be, especially because recently Mark Zuckerberg positioned a, quote, "return to OG Facebook" as part of his goals for 2025. At this point, no one really knows what this means, but if Zuckerberg is hinting at the platform's misogynistic origins as Face Mash, which was a site that ranked his female Harvard classmates by attractiveness without their consent, I don't really think that will play well in 2025, and it shouldn't have played well back then. The last story, I will admit, is a little bit of a rogue one, and it has been around for a couple weeks now, but I only just came across it and I thought it was a little bit fun, so I wanted to include it. And the story in question is about a new browser game called Stimulation Clicker. So Stimulation Clicker was created by Neil Agarwal, who has created other popular browser games, but this one fully embraces internet brain rot. It actually launched about a month ago, but I'll give you a quick rundown of how it works. So when you open the link, you are taken to a relatively blank page and you are prompted to click on a tab. Each click increases your stimulation number. I know this sounds a little bit insane and confusing, but think of stimulation as a currency in the game. The more you click, the higher your stimulation points get, allowing you to purchase various tools, some of which end up speeding the rate at which you gain stimulation points, while others are simply pop-ups on the screen. Everything you can purchase with stimulation points is quintessential brain rot and internet culture. For example, you can purchase a screen recording of Subway Surfers, a man doing a mukbang, or even the Lo-Fi Girl. If you guys aren't familiar with the Lo-Fi Girl, just give her a search on YouTube. She was a staple for me during uni, and I would often play those videos while studying. But anyway, as you purchase more and more, they all end up playing simultaneously, creating a extremely overstimulating experience. And of course, the more overstimulating it becomes, the harder it is to continue. I won't lie, I did check out this game obviously before reporting on this story, and it was super addicting at first, and I remember thinking, why can I not stop clicking? Like, why is this so engaging? But it did become increasingly difficult as I unlocked more extras. But I didn't just want to report on this story to let you guys know that this game exists. I thought this was really confronting because it really distills just how overwhelming the digital space is today and how we are constantly compelled to consume content. Yair Rosenberg wrote about this in The Atlantic, where he said, quote, "With every new feature that is introduced, Stimulation Clicker takes players on the all too familiar journey from this is neat to this is ruining my life. What was once novel becomes oppressive because when every online experience is optimized to monopolize our attention, the feeling that is ultimately evoked is not elation but exhaustion." Rosenberg also chatted to the game's creator, where he explained that this sentiment is exactly what inspired him to make the game during COVID-19 lockdown. As he explained, quote, "You have a million different social media feeds and everything's pulling you in a different direction at once. It's almost like a feeling of vertigo." Anyway, I would definitely recommend you guys check out this game, especially if you want to be confronted with what the digital world is really like in one sitting. That was a little bit of a fun one to end this week's episode, but that is all I have for you today. Lauren will speak to you tomorrow, and I will see you next Wednesday. Thanks. Bye.